In 7.1 and 7.2, you could use law of sines because you had an angle and the side opposite that angle. In this section, you do not have that. So you're going to have to use something called the law of cosines. There are 3 of them. You use the one that is appropriate for what you're trying to find. All right, the first one, a squared is b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of a. B squared is a squared plus c squared minus 2ac times the cosine of angle B. Or c squared is a squared plus b squared minus 2ab times the cosine of c. Now you only use law of sines as a last resort. Okay, always, you only use law of cosines as the last resort. You always use law of sines first if you can. Okay? Now in words, according to the law of sines, the square of a side of a triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides minus twice the product of those 2 sides and the cosine of the angle that is included between them. Okay, so those are the words for these formulas. All right, let's look at a couple of examples and see why you have to start off with law of cosines, okay? By the way, I hope y'all got a calculator. If you, go ahead, what? Last resort. You only use this if you can't use law of sines. Yes, always. So, looking at your triangles. Triangle ABC. Angle B is 73.5 degrees. Side A is 28.2 and side C is 46.7. You don't know angle A, you don't know angle C, and you don't know side B. When you get to your test, or you're working one of these problems for homework, you draw your picture and you look at it. The first thing you should say is, can I use the law of sines on this problem? Do I have an angle and the side opposite that? No, I cannot. So you cannot use law of sines, you have to use law of cosines. And the first thing you're going to have to find using law of cosines is the missing side. In this case, you've got to find B first. So since you're looking for B, you're going to have to go back and use the formula from the law of cosines that has got the B first. So you'll use this one where it says B squared. So let me write it down over here. B squared is A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of angle B. That's the formula we have to use. So B squared is 28.2 squared plus 46.7 squared minus 2 times 28.2 times 46.7 times the cosine of angle B, which is 73.5 degrees. All right, everybody got that? Then you just put it in your calculator. Make sure you are in degree mode. And I am. So 28.2 squared plus 46.7 squared minus 2 times 28.2 times 46.7 times the cosine of 73.5. And I've got B squared is 2,228.067664. Everybody get that? All right, but that's B squared. So to find B, you take the square root of that answer. got 47 point, looks like I need one decimal, 47.2 feet. So in my picture now, side B is 47.2. Okay, everybody with me? All right, when you're using law of cosines as your first step, there is an order to everything. You have to find this missing side first. And the second thing you have to do, and you have to do it in this order, is find the smallest angle that's left to find. Let me write that down. Now we have to find the smallest angle that is left to find. All right, now, any clues how you tell which is the smallest angle? And don't say because your picture looks like it, because that's not good. Do you know how you tell which is the smallest angle? Right, the smallest side is going to be opposite the smallest angle. Well, out of A and C, the two that I've got left to find, this one's 46, this is 28. So that means A is my smallest angle. So A is going to be the angle that I'm going to find. And now I can use law of sines because I know an angle and the side opposite that angle. So now use your law of sines. And you're looking for A, so put the sine of A over side A equal to the sine of 73.5 over the side you found, 47.2. When you cross multiply and divide, the sine of A is 28.2 times the sine of 73.5 divided by 47.2. Put that in our calculator. And this is going to give me the decimal point 572854116. Oops, I ran off my page. Blah, blah, blah. That is not your angle. So to get the angle, do second sine of that answer. And I got an angle of, did I get 34.9? 34.9 degrees, and that is angle A. All right, and then everybody should know how to find angle C. All you do is subtract the two angles you know from 180. So 180 minus 73.5 minus 34.9, and this angle C is 71.6 degrees. You are finished. There is only one triangle solution. Pardon? Because you started off with law of cosines. Anytime you start with law of cosines, you only have one solution. So anytime you start with law of cosines, you find your solution and you're done, just like section 7.1. I don't know, did I subtract wrong? Okay, this is 180 minus 73.5 minus 34.9. Okay, good. Listen, y'all know you have to check me. Half the time I'm not right either. All right, any questions about law of cosines with this case? All right, the last case, they are going to give you only sides. You're not going to have any angles in this problem at all, and you got to find all the angles. So let me show you the steps to do with this one. All right, here's triangle ABC. Side A is 25.4, side B is 42.8, side C is 59.3. And you ask yourself, always, first step, can you use law of sines? No, because you have no angle. So you're going to have to start with law of cosines, and there is an order to finding your answers. The first thing you have to find in this case is the largest angle. So looking at my sides, I see that 59.3 is my longest side, so C is going to be my biggest angle. C. All right, so everybody with me on that? So now you look back at your formulas and you decide, okay, if I'm looking for angle C, then this is the formula that I'm going to have to use, the one that's got angle C in it. So let me write down that formula on my sheet of paper. C squared is A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times the cosine of C. And that's why I use this formula, because it's got the C in it. Now substitute in 59.3 squared is 25.4 squared plus 42.8 squared minus 2 times 25.4 times 42.8 times the cosine of C. All right, now I'm going to caution you about algebra here. This is not hard, but people mess up the algebra here a lot of times. All right, when you look at this equation, you need to remember that all of this stuff down here is multiplied together. So keep all this together. And what I would do first is I would subtract this to the other side and that to the other side. So I would have 59.3 squared minus 25.4 squared minus 42.8 squared equals all this other stuff. Negative 2 times 25.4 times 42.8 times the cosine of C. Everybody follow that algebra? All right, then I would put this in the calculator. So in a calculator, stick that in there. 59.3 squared minus 25.4 squared minus 42.8 squared, and I get 1,039.49. Did y'all get that? Okay. Then I would put these three things in my calculator. Multiply that. Negative 2 times 25.4 times 42.8. And that gives me negative 2,174.24 times the cosine of C. Now, to get the cosine of C by itself, you need to get rid of this. This is multiplied times this, so divide, exactly. Divide by negative 2,174.24. And the cosine of C is this. So you can divide that in your calculator if you want to. Better check me. Negative 0.4780934947. Did y'all get something like that? Again, that is not your angle. That is the cosine of your angle. So you do second cosine of that answer, and the angle that I got is 118.6 degrees. No, because that makes it too big. It can't be in the triangle. So 118.6, that's angle C. We still need the other two angles. All right, but after you find this first angle, and that's the biggest one in the problem, it doesn't matter which of the other ones you find. You can do them in any order. And by the way, do you have to go back and use law of cosines all over again? No. You can use law of sines. So now you use law of sines because you know that this is 118.6. And I guess let's find angle A. I would put the sine of A over 25.4 is equal to the sine of 118.6 over 59.3. Oops. Cross multiply. And then let's figure out what angle A is. 25.4 times the sine of 118.6 divided by 59.3. I got a decimal. I'm going to do second sine. And I got 22.09, so I'm going to round that to 22.1 degrees. And that's angle A. Y'all would tell me if you got something different, right? Did y'all get that? All right, then just subtract these two from 180 to get angle B. And this looks like it's 39.3 degrees. You have to find the largest angle first in this problem, and after that it doesn't matter. All right, is there a question about 7.3? Because this is 7.3. It's law of cosines. And you use it one time, and then you use law of sines to finish it. Okay, well let me give you this last page where you fill in the blanks. And this last page just is a summary of everything we did in chapter 7, okay?
Are we going to use my page?
You gotta know it. You can do, you're gonna have the formulas.
That's all I'm getting.
Oh, I thought you meant like this page right here. No, you're gonna have law of sines, law of cosines, and the area formula. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question. Yeah, no, you don't have to memorize those. Sorry. All right. Oblique triangles is what we did in chapter 7. This case 1 is what we did in 7.1. Notice they gave you 2 angles and 1 side, and you can use the law of sines because you know an angle and the side opposite that angle. So the steps we went through in this case, you find the remaining angle using, they call it the angle sum formula, which just means that angle A plus angle B plus angle C all add up to 180 degrees. So you find your missing angle. Then you find the remaining sides with the law of sines, and you only have one solution. You only had one solution. All right, then we got to section 7.2, which is this case 2. In this case, they only give you one angle and 2 sides, but again, your first step is to use the law of sines. So this is the ambiguous case, where you may have no triangle, one triangle, or 2 triangles, because they only gave you one angle. So you find an angle using the law of sines for step 1. Then you find the other angle using the angle sum formula. And then you find the remaining sides using the law of sines. Now that's assuming there's a solution. Now remember, there may be no solution. What happens in this? Where does it mess up if you have no solution? On step 1. On step 1, if you get the sine of an angle, I'm just going to put B, bigger than 1, then you have no solution. So you can't get past step 1 if there's no solution. All right, let's say you get through step 2, 3, 4. Let's say you find a solution and you go all the way through all this stuff. Then you have to check for your second solution. So you always check for that. always check for your second triangle. And do y'all remember the steps of how to do that? Subtract it from 180 and put it in the second triangle. Right, and then see if you can put that in with the given information and make a second triangle. Okay, so we always do that. And then we got 7.3. These last two cases were 7.3. And in these two cases, you cannot start off with law of sines. So you have to start off with law of cosines. So if they give you an angle and you cannot use law of sines, you find the third side using the law of cosines. You start off with law of cosines. Then you have to find the smaller of the two remaining angles using the law of sines. And then you just find the remaining angle with the angle sum. Just subtract it from 180. And then you're done. There's only one solution here. And then the last problem we did, they gave you three sides. You have to use law of cosines, and you have to find the largest angle. And you've got to find the largest angle first, and then you can find either the remaining angles using law of sines, and then the other angle by using the angle sum. And this was also 7.3. This is the only one right here that you have to check for two triangles. This one right here. Okay, do y'all have any questions on anything in 7.3? Law of cosine.